Hello, my name is Alex Burkett, and I work at HubSpot. I work on freemium acquisition. So my job is to figure out how to bring in tons and tons of new product users through our various freemium pathways. And I do that largely through organic search and a little bit of CRO. So today we're going to cover a little bit of that, and particular strategy that we came up with called the surround sound. And it's basically around mapping out the customer journey and appearing in all the places that that influence the customer's decision on the path towards becoming a customer. But first, I want to start by talking about books. Now, if this were a live talk, I would ask the audience to raise their hands if they've read this, and I would imagine about 10 to 30% would raise their hands. And then I would ask if everybody has heard of it, and most people would raise their hands. The fact is, it's a buzzworthy book. So basically, I want to talk about my path towards hearing about this book and eventually reading it. So I'm a big reader. I'm always kind of looking for book recommendations, either implicitly or explicitly. So basically, this is how the whole process went for me. Maybe a year or two ago, whenever the book first gained traction, I probably heard this at a cocktail party. Let's say my friend Mary said, oh, I just read this book, Sapiens. It was fantastic. You should really check it out. It's going to blow your mind. And I think, oh, cool. So that's interesting. My probability of checking out the book increases from zero, basically because before that, I hadn't heard about the book. And now I have. So there's some chance that I might check it out. It's low. It depends how influential Mary is. It depends how much I wanted to buy a book at that time anyway. There's a lot of factors, but there's some chance. But then I go to another cocktail party, because I frequent cocktail parties, I guess. And Bill, my good buddy, tells me, you should check out Sapiens. I just read it, and oh my God, it was my favorite book of the year. And then another friend says, yeah, I agree. It was super good. And you should check it out too. Another friend, and eventually, like, this all kind of piles up, and I'm thinking, wow, what is this book, Sapiens? I should really check it out. Everybody in my network seems to be reading this. People I respect, people I barely know. It's really commonly talked about. So then my chance of purchasing the book goes way up, and it's never going to hit 100% just because there's always going to be extenuating factors and confounding variables. But once enough people mention this book to you, you're going to at least check out the Amazon product page, or you're at least going to go to your bookstore and take a look at the back of the book and read the blurbs. So this could look different, and it did in real life for me. It doesn't have to be people. So potentially, let's say I found this book on a list of bestsellers of the year, or New York Times kind of end of year list. And then maybe Joe Rogan mentioned with a guest that he read the book and found it fascinating. And then maybe, I'm a listener of Sam Harris's podcast, and he had Yuval Harari, the author, on, I believe, a couple times. So maybe that registered as a checkpoint on the path to purchase as well. And then, of course, there probably were some people in my life who recommended it, and there definitely were who influenced me. So the long story short, I bought the book, but to make the short story a bit longer, my roommate bought the book too. So I ordered the book one day, and it came in the next day, and I thought, wow, Amazon's 2-day shipping is really impressive. It came in half the time. But my roommate came home, and he was really excited that his book had arrived. And I'm like, wow, you bought Sapiens too. What led you to purchase that? And after talking for a bit, we realized that we were both influenced by the same word of mouth suggestion. My former boss at CXL, Pep, posted a Facebook status, and we both purchased it from this. So he got his book one day, and the next day mine came in, and now we've got two on the bookshelf. So it just goes to show the power of word of mouth and the power of these suggestions. It's a real life customer journey we got to experience there. So let's back up a little bit to more of a general marketing viewpoint and cover some facts with the customer journey. So on average, customers will visit 3 websites before making a purchase. That's not necessarily surprising. We know that customers comparison shop, and if you don't, you're naive, because people are going to visit more than just your website. More interesting, though, is that the more websites that a consumer does visit, the more money they're likely to spend. So it shows that these very conscious consideration-based purchasers are actually more valuable. So appearing on many different sources might actually increase the value of a customer for you. Maybe it's not causal. Fact 2, the frequency of messaging leads to higher levels of awareness. So the more you hear or see an ad, the more likely it is to be effective. And this is a commonly spouted advertising fact. This is something I learned when I was in college. Essentially, when you're buying ads, you want to look at like who you reach, how many, and then how many times they hear or see that ad. So it's reach and frequency. But we ignore frequency in the digital world for some reason. So we come to the surround sound, and this is where the seedling of the idea came. I read a blog post from Growth Lab, and they talked about Tim Ferriss and his approach to launching books. And you've probably noticed this if you listen to podcasts regularly or follow some of these like lifestyle bloggers, if you will. Whenever they launch something, they seem to appear in every single source that's semi-related. So if somebody's launching a book, they're going to write a post for Tim's blog, and they're going to write a post on the art of manliness and all these kind of related life hackery places. You're going to see it all over the place. And this is the surround sound effect in action. So the more people hear about your product from different sources, the more they'll start to take it seriously as something they need to check out. Doesn't mean they're going to purchase. There's conversion optimization and different factors that go into that. But at the very least, you enter the realm of conversation when people start to hear about you. So we have this as our blank slate, our ideology. This is the method that we're going off of. Basically, in a linear fashion, or almost linear, we don't actually know when the point of diminishing returns is. The number of mentions from different sources, as that increases, the probability of purchase increases as well. Or at least the probability of checking out your landing page and like considering you in the final process. Again, there's many factors that actually lead to purchase, pricing, all that stuff. But the more times you're mentioned, the more likely somebody is to check you out. So in the business realm, this is pretty easily explained. So think about the next time you're purchasing software, for instance, live chat. You see it on all kinds of e-commerce sites. You see it on your competitor sites, and you think, I need a live chat software. You should try HubSpot. When everybody's saying that, your probability of trying HubSpot, or at least like going to their landing page, pretty high. I need a meeting scheduling app. I waste too much time scheduling meetings, going back and forth on email threads. Everybody says you should try HubSpot. You're going to try HubSpot. It's just logical. I need an email marketing tool. You know where this is going. You should try HubSpot. You should. Especially because we have these freemium products. If enough people mention it, somebody's going to go to that landing page, and it's a very low cost decision for them to sign up and at least kick the tires. So we come to our definition of surround sound strategy in the realm of organic search marketing. It is finding and appearing favorably, hopefully, in all meaningful places, i.e. search results, that influence a potential customer during their decision-making process. So finding where the influence points are and appearing on them by any means necessary. How do we implement it? Good question. So the typical buyer's journey is usually comprised of these three components: awareness, consideration, and decision. As you go down the funnel, there becomes fewer and fewer people, but they're higher intent. So essentially you start with a wide base and you narrow it down through a process of education and elimination and whatever else. Competitors take some of them, blah, blah, blah. So your awareness stage goals are generally going to be to build up authority and to build links and to cast a wide net and bring in relevant traffic and maybe able to sign up for an email list or something. Generally, you're not going to convert a lot of these people into customers or users. You're really there to build demand for what you're selling. Consideration and decision stage goals, though, are quite the converse in that you're trying to capture the demand that you've built. Either there exists demand already because it's a competitive market, such as CRM, or you're trying to capture some of that demand that you've built for your own kind of niche. But I like to break it up into a little bit more granular of pieces, and I put it on a spreadsheet here. So we start with the high level of the what. So let's take, for example, customer satisfaction. What is customer satisfaction? That's going to bring in a lot of traffic. But the visitors are not going to be like high intent because they don't know what customer satisfaction is. They're not looking for a software at that point. Then you go down further and it's the how-tos, and those are a little bit more granular. People understand what customer satisfaction is. Now they're looking for like how to measure it. That's interesting. That might lead them to a possibility of a tool or maybe a template to help them out. And this is an interesting point because sometimes you can even bridge that gap into a product. So if you have a customer satisfaction survey template, that's amazing. But then you go down farther into tool discovery, and that's things like best customer satisfaction survey tools. Finally, of customer feedback software. but it gets lower and lower as you go down the funnel normally. And the surround sound is going to focus on these bottom funnel ones, and particularly the ones that are a little bit higher volume and more competitive, and how we can sort of capture a lot of that space, even though it's not always on our own site that's ranking. So we're going to try to bridge the gap between the consideration stage, when somebody is looking for different suites of products to compare, and the decision stage, when they finally decide to pull the trigger on one or two of those. And the strategy overview here. We're going to be looking particularly at product pages, listicles, and review sites. And this is particular to B2B, and specifically in relation to HubSpot. So this could look different for you, but I'm going to go through the examples that I know just to explain and illuminate. Why do I say those three? Because every single commercial search term in the software business now brings up these results. Review websites like G2 Crowd, product pages, so you've got like Marketo here, and listicles from blogs or big publications or whatever. Same thing for live chat software, same thing for scheduling app. You can go down the list for almost any commercial software term, and these are going to exist. And this is basically how Capterra and Software Advice and all those aggregator review sites have built their businesses, because people want to compare softwares. So all of these are sort of like, I guess it's a mixed intent, right? Like there's product pages that lead you directly to a certain company, but then there's all the review sites that are in the consideration stage. So let's go through one by one on these and talk first about product pages, which is kind of the bullseye. If you rank that, you're golden. So here's the quick formula in my mind. It takes content strategy, normally, backlink building, external links, internal linking and website architecture, and then on-page SEO. Once you've got all these, you can rank product pages. Little illumination on the content strategy piece. There are tons of content strategies out there. This one's the one I like. It's simple, and it also like intuitively creates a website architecture, so you don't need to worry as much about the internal linking structure. And it's also heavily like educational content based, so it really it fits right into how HubSpot has operated in the past. So we start with a product page, think about customer feedback software. From there, we link to it with a bunch of pillar pages, and even down from there, we link to it with a bunch of cluster blog posts, and I'll explain what pillar and clusters are in a second. This is a little bit more of a close-up with the content pieces. So you've got your pillar page in the middle and your cluster content surrounding it. They're smaller and they're more long tail, spoiler alert, and they're all hyperlinked together to show Google that they're related topically. And then here's a little bit more of a zoom out in showing you that this can exist in slightly related topics to show Google that there's sort of a macro cluster made up of the micro clusters of like knowledge-based customer satisfaction, customer feedback. Thematically, those are all customer service tools. We're just showing Google that we're related content-wise. So a case study for this would be our customer feedback tool. We started with 0 rankings. 6 months later, we were ranking everything, especially our product page, which was in the #1 spot. This is particularly impressive because we didn't have a product out, and we were ranking above competitors like Zendesk and Intercom, who had been around for a long time. To do this, we had our pillar page strategy. So we built out a huge guide. This is like 5,000 words. It's got a ton of like original graphics. We did backlink building, all that stuff. And we also had a cluster blog post strategy. So these are longer tail keywords like customer satisfaction measurement tools, and one is NPS. These all support the general theme of customer feedback software. So these are simple blog posts. Next component, listicles. This is really the meat of the strategy. So what is a listicle? It's this annoying piece of content that you've seen all over the place on BuzzFeed and now every single blog. The top 10, blah, blah, blah. Paul Graham puts it like this. They're like the cheeseburger of the content world. It's an easy format. If you go to a bad restaurant that you expect might be like, bad food, hamburger is an easy order because the cook's probably not going to mess it up, and there's a pretty strict guideline as to what a hamburger looks like. So it's easy for beginner writers to create, and the translation here is that they're easy to write as well as read, digest, and therefore they're easy to replicate and scale. Cheap content, essentially. And they're important because every time you search something like best form builders, this is a crucial consideration stage keyword. Somebody's clearly in the market for a product that doesn't know exactly what one they want. They want like a landscape. And you should appear on those. So the 3 strategies I like for getting on listicles are getting added to new existing ones, writing new listicles for your blog, and writing new listicles for other blogs. Obvious one, get added to the existing listicles on the top 2 pages. Sometimes this is difficult because they might be competitors. They might not want to add your link. This is a very strategic approach where you need to get really good at email outreach and cajoling and persuading people. Write a new listicle for your blog. This is the easiest tactically, but also like strategically, you need a high domain authority and maybe link building to get this to rank. HubSpot's blessed in this regard. It's much easier for us to rank these than most people. Write new listicles for other blogs. This is sort of like a testimonial in that it comes from somebody else's mouth. So it's maybe more trustworthy, but we worked with Formissimo to get this published, and we published one on form analytics tools for them. This is something that's sort of a partnership, if you will, but you could also just write guest posts for high domain authority sites and get them to rank. That's actually a hack. If you don't have a high domain authority website, write them for high domain authority sites. Goal is to get on all the lists. So when somebody like searches through these, they think, wow, I have to check out HubSpot. And a quick point here is that like if Paul Graham thinks they're the hamburger of format, it's because they're cheap and easy to replicate. So they cost zero. The marginal cost of like creating a listicle is very low, but the value of them is very high. They convert at a roughly similar rate to a product page. So they're free lunch in terms of like economic theory. We're getting something for nothing. These are beautiful. Finally, reviews. We're stepping more into the decision stage. Which one would you choose? Even if you didn't see the review count, you should choose Oscars. It's just amazing. They have, I think, $2 fish tacos every day. Which Airbnb would you choose? Superhost with 155 stars, or like a 3.5 with eight reviews? It's obvious. Loom or QSnap, 7,000 reviews or 380 and a 4-star. Reviews matter. This is completely obvious to you or anybody who's purchased anything on Amazon or Airbnb. It's completely crucial to how we buy nowadays. And there's 5 components in my mind: software comparison, blog reviews, testimonials, comparison content, forum listening, and social listening. First and foremost, the most important piece now are these sites like G2 Crowd and Capterra, who rank for product terms, and you need to appear on them because people really care. People actually look at these when they're making product decisions, and if you're not on it, you're not in the conversation. Blog reviews and testimonials. These are sort of, again, partner pieces. You can host these on your site. It's even better if somebody publishes on their own blog. This is a partner agency of HubSpot's, and it is not incentivized in any way, so it's objective. These are just fantastic. These are going to be like very high leverage pieces for when somebody's in that decision stage, when they're choosing between, say, Marketo and HubSpot. This is a piece that might say, like, just give HubSpot a shot. We really like it. You might too. Finally, comparison content. You can sort of usurp the place of a site like G2 Crowd by creating your own comparison sites. And when somebody's searching for something like Calendly alternatives, hopefully you pop up. This is kind of a widespread tactic at this point. Monitor forums. Most people don't do this. Obviously, don't come in and just like jump in with a sales pitch, but like you should know what people are talking about your product and the sentiment. Reddit, Quora, etc. Social monitoring, same thing. This should be obvious at this point. Everybody should be doing this. Reviews are critical to the buyer's journey at every stage, particularly when somebody's like on that last little, like they just need that little last push over the fence to make the decision to purchase your product versus somebody else's. Summary, the 3-prong approach to being everywhere. This is for HubSpot. We want to be on all product page, or we want to rank our product page, be included on all listicles, and be on all review sites. So when somebody says, I need live chat software, we're on everything. So our product page ranks, we're on all review sites and well-reviewed, and we're on all the listicles on the top position, hopefully. And that's like a chorus of, or an ensemble of people saying, you should try HubSpot every time somebody searches for a product term. What a beautiful thing. There's going to be a much higher probability of every single person in that customer journey at least landing on our landing page and checking us out. So for you, this is homework. I would look at mapping out or researching your buyer's journey. It may look similar to ours if it's in B2B, or it may look different if it's in B2C. Maybe you got to be on podcasts or something. Map out the influential touch points, particularly at the inflection point between consideration and decision, and find a way to appear on all of them. I don't have the answers for how you appear on all of them. That's your own creative brain, but try it out. And then one last thing. This is partially to bring the point home, but also because if you get nothing else, this is going to blow your mind and be a high value add to your life. You should read Sapiens. It's really good. Thank you. check me out on my website or my Twitter. Thanks.